Hi, welcome back
Hey,
to the Neil and Hugo show.
the N Squared and Tech show.
Yay! We must be having fun because we're back week after week.
It's amazing, really.
It's amazing. In the same clothes.
Yeah, you should change your shirt. It's getting a bit smelly in here. So what I was thinking we've talked a lot about the 7 and touch and some of the different inputs. But one thing we haven't really mentioned is active digitizers.
Yeah, sure.
Right, and so the original tablet PC type technology was the active digitizer where you have to have a stylus. You can't touch the screen. You have to have a stylus to input.
Yes.
And yet we see kind of hybrids now of some of that, and we see a lot more resistive touch screens. You know, do we still need active digitizers? Do we still care about active digitizers? Should we care about active digitizers?
Yeah, good, all good questions. To me, active digitizer has its place.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, especially, if we actually bring back the first time you showed me a tablet, which is the way it actually happened.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
If we look back in history,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I didn't forget. But
sorry, guys.
That to me was we're reminiscing here. That was to me a special moment because to give the ability to put a pen onto the tablet and have it show the ink just as it's seen on paper was really exciting. That to me was like, whoa! You're like,
that's real magic, right?
Yeah,
that's
and
real software, hardware magic.
Married together, just working seamlessly, you know. And when you turn the pen around and you can use the eraser,
yeah, that's
so cool, you know. And that was, and change colors and highlighters. So you know, the fact that pen can mimic digital pen can mimic real pen on a computer is neat. How it did that is a real failure, because what happened was manufacturers themselves, if you break down the cost, the cost of build they talk about of a computer, the actual Wacom digitizer, which is the actual tablet PC technology,
which for a long time was the only available one, right?
Which is the only available one, and it's still to a degree is the only one that really worked.
Right.
The others sort of do a bad job at it. But
so you don't think the new Intrigue one is that one?
Well, it's still very focused on touch.
Yeah,
it's not as focused on digitizer. So, but if we're talking just about the input of digital ink, the cost of build of adding that technology was about a third of the cost of the whole unit.
Yeah.
So it made traditional laptop, for example, $1,000. Tablet PC only $3,000. So you only have to pay $2,000 more to get the ability to write now. Oh wow! Then
and a bio and a piece of paper is quite a lot cheaper.
It's quite exactly.
Yeah.
So when you ask, is there a place for digital ink? Well, if that conversation continues, where it's 2/3 cost versus a third cost, no place for that. It's not going to happen. People are not going to care enough about ink. However, if it was pay $1 and you get digital ink extra on your notebook,
right,
well, everyone's going to go, yeah, throw in the digital ink, you know. So what we're trying to do now is to entice manufacturers back into digital ink and show them the power of it. I think there is a lot of merit in it. Digital ink sees millions of more pixels than a resistive touch computer.
Right, so you've got this much higher granularity of input, which gives you that very fluid ink type feel or pencil type feel that you never get with touch.
Never.
Even you use a stylus on a resistive touch, you just don't get that granularity.
Well, without getting too technical, the main difference is this, that resistive touch is basically a bit of circuitry. Your finger is closing off a bit of circuitry,
right,
going, okay, that's where the XY coordinate lies. It's an on-off switch, basically. So when your finger touches the screen, it closes that circuit, going, that's where the XY coordinate is. The pen has printed circuit board inside the pen, and then the massive Wacom digitizer pad behind the screen, and so there's a floating coordinate as you're coming into the screen.
Right, so you get hover,
good.
Yeah.
You get angle of entry calculated, you get pressure sensitivity calculated,
right,
so you can do thick lines and thin lines depending on how hard you're pressing. And for a software developer, as you know, that's when it becomes quite exciting, because you can really focus on a richness of environment. You can adjust gestures. Then you can make flick gestures because you're calculating speed also.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, so you've got velocity of movement and angle of movement and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely more interesting. And in many ways, it's interesting to me that in terms of mobile PCs, like we talked about before, my UMPC sits on my desk gathering dust, but the old iTablet, which is, like you say, 5 years old now, there is the active digitizer device is the one that I prefer to pick up if I'm going to do some inking.
Yep.
If I'm going to do some digital ink type activity.
It is that ultimate sort of pen and paper replacement. It's almost A4
right.
size.
It's an A4 size.
Sub 1 kilo-ish,
yeah.
you know, and it fits under the arm.
Yeah. Yeah, it is actually a perfect size, and hey, it looks cool too.
So I mean, when you going back to the first question, is there a place for ink, digital ink? One thing that would pain me most is to see digital ink lost. So I'd like to see it still there. I know that Bill Gates started the concept and focused on this as a digital ink experience as one that he really wanted to grow, and I don't think he's lost his passion around that. I don't think the business has lost their passion around that. It's just a question of users still sort of screaming for it. So there are some, with the launch of Win 7, there are going to be some 7-inch tablet-enabled devices. So that's pretty exciting.
So
real active digitizer, Wacom-based devices.
You heard it here last.
Yes, depending on when this video comes out. Yeah, exactly. Breaking news that never happened. So there will be digital ink on sub $1,000, or
that's awesome.
Or $1,000 Australian or US, however you want to put it, depending on where
Does it make any difference this week?
Not this week, none. It's about a 3% difference now. So it's about $1,000 to get this technology now, whereas before it was about $3,000. So that's the target where people will go, yeah, well, why wouldn't I have digital ink just as an extra? It's almost there with touchscreens. You can see now that it's, again, for one of better translation of currencies, it's $6.99, and for $7.99 you get touch now. So
people, for $100, people will pay for touch.
For sure.
I don't know what it is, like €50. Or
They'd jump in. So now what we've got to do is just creep that margin down as well, so that people can just go, oh yeah, digital ink for €50, for sure, chuck it in,
Yeah, that's nice.
And for you, I imagine that the experience of developing for that environment is always going to present some additional richness.
What's interesting is that to make life easier for a developer in some ways, it'd be good to just get rid of active digitizer and just stick with touch, because then we just program against one. We now program against obviously keyboard, mouse input, touch input, and digital ink input. Yeah. So we have like these 4 input devices that potentially we have to deal with in an application if you're going to build a very rich client application that will work across multiple machines. Yeah. In some ways you'd kind of think, God, I wish they would get touch so it was accurate enough to use a stylus on it and replace digital ink and the active digitizer technology, but at the same time, as a user, I really still stick with the active digitizer technology because it's much more fluid, it feels much cleaner, it's much more accurate, and you get hover, right? Yes. Which you just don't get on touch. So so I think I would in many ways as a user I'd want it to go the other way. So it's half a dozen of one, 6 of another.
Yeah, any time will tell.
Yeah. Cool.
Very good.
Thank you.
Excellent. See you again next week.